So the Solar Warden was the first faction. They now have technology that hasn't been updated since the 1980s. There was a major, major expansion of the space program in the 1980s, and I'll say this too. They have been doing all kinds of money laundering operations to try to funnel as much money up into space as they can to build all this stuff. So one of the earliest examples was the Korean War. The Korean War on the books is much more expensive than it actually cost. Then they did the Vietnam police action that becomes the Vietnam War. Why would they keep marching on the same hill and then order the soldiers to back off again? Why did they stay there for so long? To make it more expensive, to justify the defense budget. That had nothing to do with paying for the guns and the bombs. All that extra money was creamed off the top and put up in space. What do you think the Apollo moon missions were for? Money laundering. It cost much less to do Apollo than what they put on the books. Same thing with a lot of these other NASA programs. Same thing with advanced fighter jets. Oh, the stealth bomber costs $2 billion to make one jet. No, dude. In reality, maybe $500,000. It's not that hard. You know, if you have the technology and you have the minerals, you can go dig them up. How hard is it to build a bomber? It's not that hard. It's all money laundering. This is where you get your $500 toilet seats and your $700 hammers and all this kind of stuff. Then you have they start to tighten the noose even more in the 70s. That's when we get the gas crisis. The gap between rich and poor accelerates. Then comes good old Ronnie Reagan, 1980, becomes president thanks to the October surprise. They screwed over Carter because he wasn't loyal enough to them. Uh-oh, we lost video again. Let's make sure we don't lose that more. Did this thing just go into sleep? Is it because I didn't hit the button recently enough? Let me see if I can get it to wake up. I don't want to lose our video. There we go. Okay, excellent. That's scary. Okay, so trying to think, where was I? Okay, so Carter lost because of the October surprise, where they paid the Iranians to say, if you wait to release these hostages until Reagan wins, we'll give you a better deal. When in fact, all they really want to do is make Carter look weak so that Reagan would become president. Well, Reagan creates Reaganomics, or so-called trickle-down economics. Oh, let's just take away all the taxes on the rich, because the more money they make, the more they'll reinvest it in our economy, and then the whole economy will improve. No, what they were doing is they were taking all that extra money and they're putting it in space. So in the 1980s, we had a massive, massive, massive expansion of the space program. That's when a lot of the most advanced technology was built. So when they unveiled the stealth bomber, that thing had been mothballed and put away inside a bunker already for years and years and years. And they just every now and then bring out one of these fighter jets that was a money laundering Ponzi scheme and say, oh, look at this, the X-37, it's the new space shuttle, but we're not really telling you that we have it. We just kind of fly it up into space. That thing's a dinosaur. The space shuttle was a dinosaur. The stealth bomber is a dinosaur. Even the TR-3B, Flying Black Triangle, is like ancient technology. That's just a big old helium blimp that's in the shape of a giant mile-wide triangle. And then they land aircraft on the top, but it's all just made from hot air. And then they have these little anti-gravity generators on the three corners that are those little bright lights. So Solar Warden, a lot of this technology, a lot of these really cool back-engineered UFOs and stuff were built in the 1980s. And the second faction that comes out of all this is what they call the Interplanetary Corporate Conglomerate. And this is where we start to run into problems. This is a group that is composed of Lockheed Martin, Boeing, McDonnell Douglas, all of the military-industrial complex defense contractor companies are part of this ICC. They have now formed their own separate faction. They've broken away from the others, supposedly, and that's what people in Solar Warden and some of these other factions were led to believe. Now we seem to be hearing that they actually were all part of the Illuminati at the highest levels anyway, but these guys were the ones who actually went into business. Now, what am I saying? They went into business. Yes. It turns out that our solar system is in a very, very advantageous location in our galaxy. Think about this for a minute. Let's say that you want to build a gas station. and you want to make a lot of money. Do you want to build the gas station in the middle of Podunk? No. You want to build that gas station right on the busiest intersection in town. It turns out that there are only a set number of places where you can leave our galaxy to go into neighboring galaxies. There's a major, major portal, a huge black hole that you can get into. It's equivalent of a black hole. It's a traversable wormhole. And we're actually fairly close to that. And in fact, because of the angle of the arm of our galaxy, most of the ETs from the remainder of the galaxy have to pass us by to get to this black hole to go to other galaxies. We're at the hub. We have the gas station right on the sweet spot of the intersection in town. So all these other ETs have to go by. So what have they been doing? They've been bartering with thousands and thousands of different ET civilizations and doing technology exchange, where in exchange for us selling them our best toys, they give us their scientists, they give us prototypes, and they teach the interplanetary corporate conglomerate how to build stuff. So they have literally some of the best technology in the solar system. And one of the things that I find so frickin' hilarious is that our space program considers the flying saucer, flying disc, the UFO, is an obsolete, outdated piece of crap. And it's a hand-me-down that some of the ET groups that don't matter that much are given as sort of like a consolation prize. Most of what they're actually building and using now are in the shape of darts. So it's got an aerodynamic teardrop shape where it's wider at the back and comes to a point at the front, and those can be docked more easily. You can fit more stuff inside of them. They don't have wings, but they kind of look like a fighter jet. And you have smaller ones and larger ones, and one of the things that's really interesting about this is they are modular. So the dart itself can fly into and out of the chassis of various spacecraft. So you're in the cockpit, right, and you can detach from one ship, fly over to another ship, and dock on top of it, and now you got a whole different ship. And none of your crew or personnel ever need to leave the dart. And they also use these darts to pick people up. So there are UFO sightings of little triangles that are literally, in some cases, the shuttle is no bigger than a car, and it's like a triangular type of vehicle that has 2 seats in the front, 3 seats in the back, and they'll land in your backyard to pick you up, 18 inches off the ground. It wobbles a little bit, and you get in the seat in the back. And the insider I've been talking to, when the Alliance, which is now broken out from the Solar Warden group, and we'll get into that in a minute, they're the ones that have turned on the Illuminati now. When the Alliance comes to pick you up, they do it in a dart. Now, I have not been brought on board any of these craft or taken out into space yet, but it is possible that that may happen. It is, and I'm certainly looking forward to it, okay? I'm not kidding you. I mean, like, going up to the LOC or the Lunar Operations Center, I think would be very, very cool. So if that happens, I don't know if I'm going to talk about it, because I don't know if I want the publicity, and people are not going to believe me anyway. But my friend, this insider guy, he's going up there all the time. So the Interplanetary Corporate Conglomerate has gone into business. They have this sweet spot on what you could call the Interplanetary Silk Road, and they have the best toys in our quadrant of the galaxy. So they've become extremely, extremely powerful. They have lots and lots of good stuff, and they don't share it with the other factions. Then we have GGLN, or the Global Galactic League of Nations. Now, what this appears to be is kind of a throwaway that was given to the other leaders of the other countries on Earth. So you have people from all different major countries on Earth, all the European countries, even some of the African countries. You got people from India in there. You got lots of Latinos. Okay, all the different major races on Earth are represented in GGLN, and they have one major place that they all go. They wear their flag of whatever country they came from. They all go to this one planet which is outside our solar system. And there's an area, there's a reception area where everybody goes that has this weird pool. It's like a pond that has a waterfall going into it, and people are swimming in there, and it's got this weird blue light coming out of it. And they have announcements that are always going in English, and it kind of looks strange. I think there's 2 moons in the sky, too. So that's where these people are going. Now, It was thought that they might be the good guys, but in fact, they're all compromised by the Illuminati as well. And as a result of events that have taken place recently, they've been locked out of our solar system by something called the barrier. And we'll get to that. Then we have the military faction, and they essentially provide policing support for the other groups, and in some cases, they are down here on the ground. Now, a lot of these military groups are not on a need-to-know basis about what's really going on. It's compartmentalized. So what that means is the military faction believes that all of the ETs are ancient. None of them are new. None of them have been around any time. They all were in our solar system long ago, and they've all left. They all went extinct. They left technology behind, but the military people, whenever they're tracking craft, they're just told that's one of ours. So they did not know that we were in contact with ETs now. And when you talk to one of these guys, they will literally be willing to fight you to the death if you try to tell them that there's any ETs visiting us. And I know one of these people from this faction, and he insists that all the craft that are out there are us, and there's nothing anytime recent from anybody else, from anywhere else. Recently, because the Illuminati is about to be defeated, and because a big part of Solar Warden and now some very significant elements of ICC have broken away from the space program and sided with the alliance that wants to end what they call the 5,000-year Babylonian money magic system, i.e. they want to end the money system, they want to end financial tyranny, and bring us all this technology that the ICC has already built. Because think about what that's going to mean. You're going to be able to travel to other planets just by going through a portal. You don't even have to wait for TSA to give you a complimentary breast massage or a genital pat-down. If you're carrying something they don't want you to have, the Stargate will detect it, so it's no problem. We're all already in a Star Trek society. We already have the toys. We already have replicators and materializers. It can make, you can think of the best meal you ever had in your life, and it'll make it for you, just like that. And they do need some organic materials to make that work. One of the things they use is actually butter oil, but they found that one of the best things to make food with the replicators, believe it or not, is marijuana oil, hemp oil. So in the future, weed will be a much more prolific crop, and you can basically 3D print any type of meal that you want out of marijuana oil. And I guess they take the THC out, otherwise nobody'd get anything done. And your farts would be very intoxicating.